Welcome to NEXTGames Dungeon Series. Today, covering the Somerset Dungeon of Coral Aerie. Now this is a rather fun dungeon, and following the proper mechanics will be beatable by most well-geared players. Now there are 3 main bosses and 4 bonus bosses in this dungeon. Now all that need defeated for victory are the 3 main bosses, so I will cover them in this video. I will also release a video shortly after this covering the bonus bosses, which are actually more enjoyable to fight than the mains. But you have to be sure that you find all 3 bonus bosses on your way through the dungeon in order to unlock the final 4th boss, which is after the main boss. We'll get into that more in the next video though. For this one, the first boss you will encounter is Maligalig, who you will see me fighting right now. Now he has several abilities that you will need to look out for in order to succeed. First, he has a nasty heavy attack that even blocked will do considerable damage and kill you if your health pool is not big enough. As long as you can live through it, I suggest simply blocking it as you see me doing in this example. But if even that's killing you, you're going to need to learn how to time your roll dodges very carefully or end up dying to this. Now the next ability that you will see will put a negative AoE ring around you on the floor. Now when this happens, you must quickly look around and find the other red ring that has appeared. You'll need to run inside of that ring in order to get the AoE ring on you to disappear. If you don't do this quickly enough, you will instantly die. Next, the bomber bugs. Now these bugs will appear multiple times during the fight and run at you and then explode. Try to time your movements and dodges to get out of the way of them. Now at 65% and 35% health, the boss is going to use a very unique mechanic called Flushed Away that will put you in a whirlpool. This is what you see going on right now. Now time your synergy correctly to hop out of the pool near where you can see a crab. Now there are 3 possible platforms and only 2 of them have crabs on them. So you need to make sure that you time your jump correctly to make sure that you end up on one of those 2 crab platforms. After one crab is defeated, hop back into the water until you come around to the next. After both crabs are defeated, the fight will continue back on the ground. Now as long as you manage to deal with those mechanics as you see me doing here, the fight should go fairly smoothly. Now the next main boss you will encounter in this dungeon is Sarydil, who is the most challenging fight that you will face here. Now I suggest going in with as large of a health pool as possible to give yourself time to find her form during the shadow stage. Let's get into what you will encounter in this one. First, the boss will open with and return with a teleport strike several times during this fight. This will do a good amount of damage to you both at the start of the fight and when you're fighting adds during the middle of the fight. Make sure your health pool is near its max during these occasions to make sure you don't die to this. Next, dash mines. Now many times during the fight, the boss will dash across the room to the door, leaving mines on the floor as she goes. Now you want to quickly work past them before they start doing damage so that you can immediately start getting damage in on her as soon as she stops moving at that door. Now you will also want to be ready to interrupt her as she will start throwing daggers as soon as she stops for a considerable amount of damage. This is what you see going on right now. You want to interrupt this as soon as you see it begin and then keep getting your own damage in. She will then next use the backflip bombs ability and send bombs all around the room. Make sure you do not stand near one of them as shortly after that there will be a growing AoE around her and those bombs, and everything within the range of them will explode. There is also an ability that marks you to continually drop AoE damage circles beneath you as you run around. Now these circles will continually appear, and if stacked all on the ground underneath you will kill you quickly. So you want to be sure to continually move around as these start appearing and place them around in a circle, and then stay out of the ones that have fallen until they disappear. Now at 2 points during this fight, at around 75% health and 40% health, the main boss will disappear, and then many waves of 4 adds will enter the room that need to be killed. At the 40% phase, a large Khajiit will also come into the room with the adds that needs to be watched and killed carefully. Be sure to avoid the crackles that he drops on the ground, and you must block his heavy attacks or die to them. Now this brings us to what I find to be the hardest part of this fight and the dungeon, the shadows mechanic of this boss. Now this ability will be used several times during this fight, and when it is used, the boss will disappear, and many shadows will appear that look like her around the room in between the columns. Now when they appear, they're all going to be channeling an attack on you as soon as they appear. You must run around to all of these shadows around the room and interrupt each one until you interrupt the right one. When you find the right one, the rest of them will disappear and the fight will continue. Now, you will normally be taking large amounts of damage while you're trying to find the right shadow, and this is why I recommend a high health pool setup for this fight. If you have less than say 30,000 health and don't guess the right shadow in those first 2 or 3 attempts, you will almost always certainly die. With the large health pool you see me fighting with here, it gives you enough time to get to all the shadows and interrupt them, making this a long but trivial fight if done correctly, and removes the risk of dying from guessing the wrong shadow. That's really all I have to go over on this particular fight. Enjoy the rest of the example, and we will go over the next and final main boss strategy after this fight. This brings us to the final main boss of this dungeon, Varallion. Now this fight isn't too bad, but again, due to the amount of incoming damage, I suggest a health pool of over 30,000. Now the first thing is the heavy attack. This must be blocked under all circumstances or you will be one-shotted, just like many of the other bosses in this dungeon. There's also an ability where 3 waves will come across the room, and this is going to happen several times during the fight. Now these waves are signaled by a red line that will appear on the floor that is quite wide. You must step outside of these waves or be killed by them. Now the boss will often also curse you with a medium potency DOT ability. Now there's no way to avoid this, so just keep curing yourself through it. Now 3 griffins will also join the fight, one at 90%, one at 80%, and one at 50% health respectively. Try to continue to focus damage on the main boss while taking these things out with AoE damage. Now if you find yourself getting overwhelmed by them, especially in that 90 to 80% threshold, switch to them and finish taking them out fast, and then back to the main boss. Now each griffin has different abilities, but one of them is worse than the others, and it puts down a large AoE ability on the ground. When this appears, you must get out of this large circle immediately while still avoiding the other mechanics in this fight that are putting their own circles and lines on the ground. Not doing so will kill you quickly. After you find a safe place to fight, finish the fight, and this is otherwise a relatively easy one to take on. That's about it for this on normal mode. I hope you found that helpful. Enjoy the rest of the fight, and if you wanted info on the bonus bosses in this dungeon, look for it in the next video in the series, covered shortly. Thanks for watching, and enjoy the rest of the fight.
this trouble that Maligalig will be.
This bag looks promising.